Hi there, my name is Lynn Smith and I want to welcome you to Module 4 of the Cupid's bow technique. So well into the program now. I hope you've enjoyed Modules 1, 2, 3 and are excited about getting into Modules 4 and 5. So what's coming up in Module 4? Well, in Module 4 we're going to discuss in more detail what if you want marriage, and also how to handle the urge to contact him first. So if you are in a situation whereby previously you've invested a hell of a lot in your relationship, or have previously been in a relationship where you've invested a hell of a lot, how do you resist, making the contact and creating a space for him to want to chase and pursue you? Also, what if he's complaining or moaning or just commenting about feeling a bit ignored these days? What do you do about that? Also, why do you need to let go of your expectations? We'll be discussing that, and how to voice your wants and desires. And as well as why you need to let go of your expectations, we'll also be discussing how to let go of your expectations as well. Following on from that, we're going to look at the common mistakes that women make and how to create an emotional attachment so that he's really heavily invested in this relationship. He's not just attracted to you, he's actually emotionally attached to you to the extent that he wants to really commit to this relationship. And also we'll be discussing how you can live in your feminine energy. And then the final thing we'll be covering later on is how to pour water on the fire of conflict. So if you have been in a relationship where there's been a lot of conflict, or you're in an existing relationship where there's a lot of conflict, how do you resolve that as an issue or problem in your relationship? So lots of great stuff coming up. Let me just immediately crack on with clicking onto the PowerPoint. So just hold on a sec while I just share my screen with you so you can see the PowerPoint. There we go. And I'm going to go straight in now to the Cupid's bow technique, Module 4, presented by myself, Lynn Smith. Just hang fire a sec while I take a sip of water. Feeling a bit dry today for some reason. Okay, thank you. So, you should be used to this format by now. I usually summarise what's been covered from the previous module before I get stuck into the current module. So summary from Module 3, how to be a moving target. We looked at what attitude you need to adopt to be a moving target, how you can be less invested in the relationship, how you can be unpredictable. We talked about his natural love and connection rhythm. That is all part and parcel of a man's natural DNA. And what being a moving target is and what it isn't, and also the most powerful strategy contained within this course. So if you paid attention, what is that most powerful strategy that was contained or has been contained throughout this course? Just give you a second to think about that. And if you answered polarization, give yourself an A star and a big pat on the back, because that is exactly right. So well done. So moving on from what was covered in the last module, thinking about all the things that we covered in Module 3, what breakthroughs have you had since completing that module? Have you took any action since completing that module? And if you have, that's brilliant. But if you haven't, did anything prevent you from actually taking action? And if you felt that something did prevent you from taking action, what is the underlying fear around that? What stopped you? Have a little think about that if that is an issue. And the last question is, where else do you let this fear run your life? So have a good think about these questions, because if they have raised their head, they've raised their head for a reason. And firstly, that reason is to give you the awareness that there is an issue or problem or fear that's been lying underneath, simmering away, that might have been sabotaging your previous or current relationship. So once you're aware of that, then obviously you can address it. And because once you start asking yourself these questions, your mind will automatically start searching for the answers. So don't feel at all perturbed if these issues are raising their head. It's all good, and it's all presenting the problem so that you can address it. Okay, let's get stuck into module 4 now. So what if you want marriage? What's going to create the right conditions to plant that seed? Well, the Cupid's bow technique is about what feels healthy, genuine, and natural in the context of creating the polarization of masculine and feminine energy. You can only achieve polarization if your well-being cup is full. You have to take responsibility for your own internal happiness without relying on him for any external validation. I'd like you to remember this quote. You don't find your worth in a man. You find your worth within yourself and then attract a man who is worthy of you. I want you to get your pen and actually write down that quote because I think it's very valuable and very valid. So I'm going to repeat it again. You don't find your worth in a man. You find your worth within yourself and then attract a man who is worthy of you. This technique is not about forcing, convincing, or pressuring him in any way, nor is it ignoring, rejecting, or treating him mean to keep him keen. If you pull too far away or become too unpredictable, then he will feel discouraged and lose sight of you completely and won't bother to chase you. For the most part, he's got to feel relaxed and comfortable in your relationship, with some discomfort now and again. In other words, some unpredictable, unavailable behaviour / moving target behaviour from you. And that needs to be thrown in now and again to keep him on his toes. Conversely, if you're too easy, available, and at his beck and call all the time, he'll feel too relaxed and comfortable and won't be inspired to pursue you and give you the attention and commitment you want. So let's look at the next subject now. How to handle the urge to contact him first. Well, sometimes keeping yourself busy with activities that add to your well-being and happiness aren't enough to distract you from focusing on him. You're only a human after all. So at those times, you're likely to have the urge to want to contact him. So what else can you do? Well, I've found that what works for me and what is now working really well for my clients is to write messages to him which you don't actually send. So write messages on a Word document or in a journal is the safest thing to do, so you don't accidentally then press send and he actually receives it anyway. This is a great way for you to resist making contact first, but at the same time satisfy that urge. Trust in your authentic wise woman intuition to give you the guidance to stretch his Cupid's bow string whenever you feel you're more emotionally invested in the relationship than what he is. And if you're unsure what to do, just copy his mindset, actions, and behaviours. If he pulls away, which may or may not be because of his natural love and connection rhythm, you pull away. If he behaves like you're not in an exclusive relationship, or if he's acting very cool, relaxed, laid back, or disinterested, you do the same. The caveat being always respond in a soft, calm, feminine way, not in a hard, aggressive, masculine way. Oh, I'm getting a bit croaky, so just let me have a little supporter. Okay, that's better. He's got to feel that another man could easily come and take you away from him unless he makes the effort to pursue you. And that effort has to involve him wanting you enough to want to catch and commit to you first. You want to be with somebody who's going to really cherish you and know your high worth. And believe me, you'll stand out from any other woman, and he'll suddenly respect and appreciate and value you at a whole new level. And the more you can focus on and look after yourself and your own well-being, the more detached you'll become, and the more easily you'll be able to exude your positive feminine power and let go of any expectations of him and his behaviors. Then guess what? A funny thing happens. This creates polarization by giving him the space to step into his positive masculine power, which means his love and commitment arrow gets reloaded with a vengeance. How cool is that? So what if he's making comments, complaining or moaning? Now, if your man is not used to you being unavailable or unpredictable, you may find that his response when he does initiate contact is to comment, moan or complain that you've been ignoring him in some way. If this is the case, then give yourself a big pat on the back, because this means he's realized that you're now a high value feminine woman. And I quite often abbreviate that on some of my slides and training materials to HVFW. So if ever you see HVFW written, then it does stand for high value feminine woman. So if he's realized that you're now a high value feminine woman, he's now having to work to pursue you to get your attention, and that you've effectively created a pull on his Cupid's bowstring. So excellent work, well done. Now, why do you need to let go of your expectations? Why is this important? Well, if he feels that you're playing mind games, or if you're attached to the outcome or have specific expectations, you'll exude a masculine, controlling, negative energy, which he'll instantly pick up on and be unattracted to. Now, men feel the expectations of a woman as pressure. Nothing is more unattractive to a man than the huge weight of a woman's expectations. It can feel very, very uncomfortable to him, and he will naturally just want to pull away. So if you can imagine yourself being in a relationship with a man who is a perfectionist and makes judgments about how you should behave, and then any time you don't do something to his liking, he gets irritable or angry to the point where you feel like you're having to walk on eggshells around him in case you don't live up to his expectations, you'd feel pressured and uncomfortable, right? And after a while, you'd feel really unhappy and want to distance yourself from this relationship, because it just becomes too much effort to keep trying to meet or live up to his expectations. It's too draining on your time and energy, isn't it? Well, it's actually magnified for a man. That's what he feels and experiences. Sorry, get my teeth back in again. That's what he feels and experiences at a more intense level when we have expectations about him. And the more you persist, the more he will resist. And if you are freaking out or having expectations or trying to control outcomes, all that can sabotage your results. So do your best to let go and trust in this technique. Adopt the attitude of acceptance, and that whatever will be, will be. So how do you voice your wants and desires then? So I'm actually not saying you should never talk about commitment or marriage. I want to reassure you that it's okay to acknowledge your wants and desires, to be in a committed relationship or to be married, but do it in a way that you speak in a calm, soft voice that is about you rather than your man. Most of us as little girls have been parented or educated to say, or I should say, not to say, I want, because it's perceived as being rude or bad-mannered. And certainly it is if it's coming from a place of anger or diva-like behavior during an emotional tantrum. But men aren't mind readers. They love opportunities to make you happy. And so it is okay to calmly, because men are very tuned into our tonality of voice, say, I want, I would love, I would really like, it would be wonderful to be, do, or have whatever it is you want or desire. Saying I'd really love to have a committed relationship with someone special, or it would make me really happy to be married to a wonderful man someday, makes a statement about what you want without him feeling it has to be him. So he won't feel forced or pressured. The important bit thereafter is to then let it go. Leave it up to him as to whether he wants to fulfill your wants and desires without having any expectations attached. Don't keep mentioning it unless he brings it up in conversation first, and then you can confirm what you want. Never put it across in a way that sounds like you're making demands or trying to convince him or giving him an ultimatum by saying things like, I'm going to leave you if you don't set a date, or we need to get married, or I'm done with this relationship. Because those sorts of statements will just make him feel uncomfortable and pressured. Don't worry if you've already made these sorts of statements previously. Just make sure you refrain from making them again. I trust you'd rather be all his idea to commit or propose rather than feel you've nagged him into it. I want to reinforce that the best way for a man to feel comfortable and inspired to make the commitment to propose is when he's with a woman who has voiced her desires to be married, but then she's let it go, dropped the subject completely, and has no expectations around it. She is totally fine and accepting that whatever will be, will be. So how do you actually then let go of your expectations? What does that mean? What does that look like? When a woman totally lets go of her expectations, what she's actually doing is living in the present. She's not focused on the future. She's not focused on how she expects things to go. She's not focused on a man and what she wants him to do or say. Instead, she's relinquished control, living in the moment and being present in a way that feels comfortable and relaxed. Even if you're doing the dishes, you can discover the joy of being present and take great pleasure in really feeling the suds running through your fingers. I love this Bill Keane quote. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift, which is why we call it the present. Recognize this gift of living in the present and be happy for what you have in the here and now. Now, what are the common mistakes women make? Well, firstly, stop trying to change, help, or correct him. Women commonly make these mistakes around wanting to change, help, or correct their man. This is just another form of expectation of control. What you're subconsciously doing is trying to help, in inverted commas, him change to become more like you. Then years later, when he does become a male version of you, guess what? You may be surprised to discover that you're less attracted to him, and you wonder why. It's because there is little or no polarization of the masculine and feminine energies present. Do not be tempted to do these things for him. He is perfectly capable of doing these things for himself. And do not give him unsolicited advice. These are all things that feel emasculating to him. This includes helping him or rescuing him. Remember, he's the competent man, the knight in shining armor in this relationship, not you. And if he wants your opinion, he'll ask for it. Even if you do genuinely feel you know better, allow him to make and learn from his own mistakes. If you do have a great idea or an opinion you want to share, rather than shoulding all over him by saying, oh, you should do this or you should do that, express it in the form of, what do you think to this idea? Or have you thought of X, Y, or Z? Also, if you try to correct, in inverted commas, any of your man's behaviours, it's going to make him feel uncomfortable around you, which is a real passion and commitment killer. If you're focused on the things you want to correct, he'll pick up on it, and it's going to ultimately make him want to step more into his feminine energy or pull away. I mentioned this in the Cupid's Bow Technique Module 1, but it's also important, and it's worth repeating. Polarization is not going to be created if we're connecting with him like another male, or if we're trying to turn him into a male version of ourselves. This makes sense, right? I'll just have another sip of water. Okay. I want you to really focus on appreciating him for who he is, respect his opinions, trust that he is perfectly capable of making his own decisions, love his strengths, and accept his imperfections. And not only will he reciprocate, he'll worship and want to marry you for it. Our relationships naturally progress when we're not trying to force or control them. If we relax and just let things happen, usually we get what we want when we least expect it. A man doesn't want to be with a woman who's looking for him to make her life complete, because then he'll feel it's his job. It'll put him under too much pressure if he feels all the onus is on him to make her happy. A man wants to be with a woman who's already happy and comfortable with her own wonderful life, and she just wants to share her life and happiness with him. The man in her life is just an extra cherry on the top, added bonus. All right. Next subject, how to create a strong emotional attachment. Now, attraction isn't enough for a man to want to commit and marry a woman. He has to have a strong emotional attachment to her as well. So how do you create a strong emotional attraction with a man? If you're a strong woman, you may spend a lot of time living in your masculine energy and inadvertently carry that masculine energy over into your intimate relationships. If this is you, you'll attract one of two sorts of responses from men. A man who is not standing strongly in his own masculine energy will be more passive. He will live more in his feminine energy and allow you to lead and control the relationship. A woman may love this man and be happy with the peace and calm in the relationship, but she will never have the passion for him that she is truly capable of, and she'll never feel completely fulfilled unless she learns to live in a feminine energy and let go of the masculine control and give him his balls back and allow him to wear the trousers. On the other hand, a healthy alpha male who is standing strongly in his own masculine energy will be more assertive, and he'll unconsciously sense that there is another masculine male energy in the room, and he'll feel threatened by it. He'll want to show his male or masculine dominance by leading and controlling the relationship. Now, a woman will have a lot of love and passion for this man, but will also probably be engaged in regular conflicts with him. And these conflicts will persist, again, until she learns to let go of the masculine control and respond instead in a polarized, feminine way. So let's look at that in more detail. How to resolve conflicts by responding in a feminine way. Now, believe it or not, it took me over 3 years of some very painful experience to learn and finally grasp this. To actually solve the issue of resolving conflicts. And all I needed to do was just create some polarization and learn to handle potential conflicts in a feminine rather than a masculine way. So to create calm intimacy and emotional attachment where otherwise there would have been conflict and arguments, I discovered that I needed to respond in a polarized, natural feminine way to diffuse a situation. So let me give you an example of this. For example, when my soulmate Paul got irritated or frustrated over something and unfairly took it out on me, I called this lighting the fire. And the temptation for me was to then react in a masculine way by adding fuel or paraffin to the fire, either by, I'd either get aggressive and retaliate in anger, or I'd become defensive and say, yes, but, or I'd start justifying it and giving my own opinion as to why I'm saying what I'm saying with my I'm right opinion. Now, all of these are masculine ways to respond, and either way, all Paul saw at this point was another male energy challenging his masculinity. And I used to do all of these on a regular basis, always with the same result. We'd end up having a full-blown major argument. We both used to say things that would be very hurtful, and Paul would then withdraw to his cave, sometimes for days at a time, and I would be left feeling utterly distraught. Now, I knew that I needed to deal with this by creating polarization, by responding to him in a natural, feminine way, and see my vulnerability as a source of feminine power and strength, not weakness. I knew I needed to pour water on the fire or risk losing our deep connection, intimacy, and emotional attachment. So how did I pour water on the fire? Well, the way I poured water on the fire was by letting him see or know that it hurt my feelings with his aggressive words, his facial expressions, and or his body language. I did not respond with inflammatory words, but with calm or playful gestures, such as, because it's my nature to be quite playful, I quite often use my forefingers to point playfully at my bottom lip, which I'd stick out in a little girl, silky, really silky pout, complete with big, sad puppy dog eyes. And other ways I'd respond in a feminine way would be to just say, ow, or ouch, or zip up my mouth completely and be quiet. I'd even leave the room if necessary. And what this does is it leaves his own harsh words hanging in the air, which then get repeated back to his ears loud and clear. He then instantly felt guilty for hurting the woman he loves and gave himself a far harder time about it than I ever could. He might not have always apologized right away, but I certainly knew by his subsequent actions that he was very sorry. The result was that the fire had been put out. Intimacy and emotional attachment had been maintained. Oh my gosh, can't tell you what a big relief that was. And when you learn to consistently respond like this, you realize that using polarization is a far more effective and empowering way to handle potential conflicts. And this in turn will make you stand out as his must-have for life woman. And if you're interested in what makes a woman live in her masculine energy, when it comes to your intimate relationships, I go into this in a bit more detail in my other workshops and trainings. So that is a whole other subject in its own self. Okay, that actually wraps up all the content for Module 4. So I just want to summarize what we've covered today. We've looked at what if you want marriage, how to handle the urge to contact him first, what if he's complaining, moaning, or commenting about being ignored, why you need to let go of your expectations, how to voice your wants and desires, and how to let go of your expectations, the common mistakes that women make, how to create an emotional attachment, how to live in your feminine energy, and how to pour water on the conflict fire. So after doing all of that in this module, you must be getting used to this format by now. What have been the aha moments? What gems and insights have you gained as a result of listening to what we've done in module 4? Pause the video for a moment, have a think about that, and then I want you to make a note around what you feel you've learnt today. And then finally, what's coming up in module 5? In module 5, we'll be going into talking more around commitment and marriage, skills that you can put in place for life to enhance your relationship. Also, the question around, he has to realize he could lose you. Looking good and feeling great, being a high value feminine woman, going into that in a little bit more detail. What are your current living arrangements? Some progression from the moving target, taking all commitment talk off the table, some final words of caution, what is the wise woman's best kept secret, and then going over some of the main points again. Okay, so that's it for module 5. Module 4, I should say. I look forward to speaking and seeing you again in module 5. Have a great few days, or whatever amount of time you take studying module 4. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.